Good morning, my beautiful holy Nishamot. I'm so honored that I'm here today before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we did a beautiful challah together, and we did amazing brachot, and we're having a beautiful, delicious breakfast Sunday morning in an unbelievable holy place, Moroccan shul, here in Queens. And I'm honored and privileged to be here to host this event, together with Orit and Joanna. And thank you to every single one of you and Rabbanit that you are here, that you made it possible. Yesterday, I was at Rabbi Olbaum's shir. Rabbi Olbaum, very famous Gadol Ador. He gave, before the Yom Kippur, he gives a shiur, unbelievable. And I have some points that I took from him that I would like to share with you because it was so powerful. So he says we are in the 10 days, Asarei Yemei Teshuva, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And okay. And so what should we do as Jews? Our focus should be on Teshuva. And he says there are some concepts called Chacham, prophecy, Torah, and a Kadosh Baruch. What is it? Chacham says no tshuva. Whatever was done. The person cannot do tshuva for that, whatever he did. Then there's a prophecy level. Prophecy level says, Has v'chalila, only if the person dies, that can erase for the sins. Then there is Torah, and there is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. A Kadosh Baruch Hu says, no, I can erase. If you do tshuva, I can erase it as if it never happened. And the person says, how is it possible? It says that just like in the Torah, there is a story of Kriyat Yam Suf, how the Yam Suf opened up, how the Jews passed through. Hashem says, if I want, I could go inside and take the story out as if it never happens. Hashem can do it. The same thing to all of us. When we do tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu erases that sin that we did as if it never happened. And the story is brought down. There was a king. His name was King Chizkiyahu. King Chizkiyahu, if you remember, he didn't want to get married initially. And when they asked him, why you don't want to get married? He said, I see in my prophecy, my nevuah, that I'm going to have kids that will go and rebel against God. And I don't want this to happen. I don't want to do something against God. And as we know, the Shmuel Navi comes and he says, no, you can't do this. That's not your job to have kids or not to have kids. Your job is to get married to have kids. What's going to happen is Hashem's job. So he says, okay. He gives him instruction. He says, you know what? I will get married. You give me your daughter. So the prophet gives his daughter to Chizkiyahu Navi. Chizkiyahu the king. Chizkiyahu's life was prolonged for another 15 years because of the fact that he got married. Fine. He got his kids, and one of the kids was Menashe. As we all know, the famous Menashe. Menashe was serving Avodah Zarah. He was giving so much heartache to the father and to everyone around him. But the father always taught him, my dear son, when the times are hard, always remember, there is always a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You always can turn to him, he will save you, and he will help you. Menashe said, it's all nonsense. I don't need this. It doesn't exist. And he served, it says, to every Avodah Zarah possible. But he got into the hands of bad people. And those bad people wanted to kill Menashe. They put him in a big giant pot, and they put the fire under the pot, and they put Menashe alive in there. So Menashe is inside feeling the heat of the pot. He understands that he's gonna get cooked. So he tries to call every Avodah Zarah he served. He calls, please help me. Nobody comes to help. Please help me. Nobody comes to help. Please help. Nobody comes to help. And he remembered the words of his father, that whenever you're in trouble, always reach out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, Hashem, help me. Because if you don't help me to save me from this test that I'm in, then you know what? Then you're no different than any other avodah zarah I served. And it says that his prayer went upstairs to Shemayim, and Malachim was blocking it. They were blocking. They said it cannot reach Kisei Kavod because he was such a terrible, terrible avodah zarah servant. There's no way we're going to allow his prayers to go in. And Hashem says to Malachim, wait, if I don't allow Menashe's prayers to go in, then I'm going to tell the whole world, future generations of my children, you know what, Teshuva is not possible. But I want to make it Teshuva possible. It says that he dug a hole from under the Kisei HaKavod, and he allowed, so to speak, the prayers of Menashe to go up, and he saves him from the pot, from the burning pot. Menashe does at the end Teshuva. So we learn from the story of Menashe that it's possible. Even if you were in the lowest of the low, like Menashe, yet if you last minute, when you are in pain, you have to reach out to Hashem. Because Hashem is the only one who can help us. There was a beautiful story of a Russian Jewish guy, who didn't grow up with any religion, unfortunately. But there was a time that there was a war, and he was asked by the government to go and serve and go out to the field. And the field was full of mines, the grenades, mines. And he was afraid for his life because he said, I don't even have a zechutim, I don't have a protection, shmira. What should I do? Because I remember one thing. Every time my mom would be in the house and something would not be so smooth, my mom would say, Oi, Shema Yisrael. That's it. So he says, okay, if I'm forced to go out to the field, full of mine, full of bullets, and people, my friends left and right are dying, at least I'm going to say, Oi, Shema Yisrael. And every step he took, he kept saying, Oi, Shema Yisrael, Oi, Shema Yisrael. And he didn't even know the continuation of the line. What goes after Oi, Shema Yisrael? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. He didn't even know the continuation. He just knew what his mother said at home. He remembered it. So he said, Oi, Shema, and he was able to cross onto the other side of the field. And he was able to get through that battle without being harmed, while his friends, left and right, were being killed. Such a simple emunah. Emunah pshuta. There was an unbelievable story. There was a guy who was walking around depressed. It was in the time of Marsha. And Marsha calls him over and says, why are you depressed? He says, I'm depressed because my wife passed away and I don't have kids. And my wife, before she died, she took my hand and she said, I need you to give me a promise. What's the promise? That you will never get married to anybody after me. So I couldn't say no to her. She's dying. She's asking me to give her this promise. So I said, okay, I promise. And now I'm young. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to have family. But I promised my wife not to get married. Well, that's why I'm depressed, the guy says to Marsha. Marsha says, I give you permission. Go and get married. Marsha gets permission. You could break the promise. Okay. He goes, gets married, but there was a talk in town. And shortly after he gets married the second time, this guy passes away. And now the talk in town is, that's because he broke the promise. He promised to his wife. The wife said, don't get married. He said, yes. And then he broke the promise. That's what happened. And Marsha goes to Chevra Kadisha and says, you do the complete Tahara. And before you put him in to bury, call me. Don't do it before I'm present. Okay, they do complete Tahara. They put the guy with the shroud inside. They call Marsha. Marsha comes and he writes on a piece of paper a note. And he says, you're going to put this note into the hands of the Niftar, and he's going to be buried with this. And the note says, I, Marsha, with all the koach of my Torah, I gave him permission to go and get married and build new life. Bring me back to life. I don't allow to end my life here. This is not the end. And he says, do not close the grave. Everybody leave. Everybody follows what Marsha says. Everybody leaves. The next morning, they see this man walking around the town in tachrichim, in the burial shrouds. Everybody got scared. They remember what happened yesterday. And now Marsha reaches out to Hashem and he says, Hashem, thank you for bringing him back to life. Now I want you to make that the entire community should forget about the incident, that this happened. Otherwise, nobody would want to marry a niftar. Everybody wants a normal husband. So he said, the miracle of everybody forgetting it was greater than bringing this man back to life. Could you imagine? Unbelievable. Powerful. Which means when we do Teshuva, it's possible. When we listen to the rabbi who sucked in, it's possible. His word is the word that is approved in Shamayim. And even the laws of nature can be changed. There's another beautiful story. There was a 27-year-old rabbi who lived in Syria, Aleppo. And he was married. He had one daughter. And unfortunately, he passes away. It was 4th of Nisan, 1934. And he passes away. And when he passed away, his wife was expecting another baby. She was pregnant. So she gives birth to a little girl. But unfortunately, the times were hard. The wife without a husband, she had no income coming. And unfortunately, in those times, her little girl, the first one, passes away from starvation. Could you imagine? Now her second daughter, first daughter was Esther. Second daughter was Victoria, English name, and Hebrew name was Miriam. So Victoria Miriam, she was 3.5 years old. The mother's name was Masuda, and the rabbi name was Rabbi Abudi. And the 3.5-year-old daughter says to her mom, she says, Mommy, every time I go to kindergarten, all other children, they come with a sandwich and maybe an apple. But with me, you only give me sometimes an apple, sometimes a vegetable, sometimes nothing. Can I also get a sandwich and an apple every time I go to kindergarten like the rest of the kids? She looks at her and she doesn't know how to answer this child. And she tells her, my dear child, all other kids in kindergarten have a father. When they need something, they go to their Abba. And they ask, Abba, I want a sandwich. Abba, I want an apple. So Abba makes everything possible to give it to the child. But you don't have an Abba. And the little girl was very mature beyond her age. But Mommy, we all have Abba b'shamayim. So she says, you're right. You know what? I want you to go out and talk to your Abba b'shamayim that this is what you want. So little girl, so pure, so innocent, she goes out of the house. She looks up to heaven. She brings her hands up and she says, Abba b'shamayim, I want a sandwich and an apple for my mommy to pack with me when I go to kindergarten. Can you please give my mommy enough money that she should support me? Please? Thank you so much. She runs back inside the house. Mommy, I did exactly what you said. So tomorrow, when I go to kindergarten, please pack me sandwich and an apple. I did what you told me, mommy. Okay. She's quiet, the mom. Half an hour later, there is a loud knock on the door. Not just a gentle, but loud. The mother got scared. She looks into the hole and she sees Turkish soldiers and people from the government. And she's afraid, but she has to open it. It looks like it's serious stuff. She opens the door. They barge in and they tell her, we heard that you are the best seamstress in town. We need to go to the war and our socks are ripped. They need to be sewn. Here, and they bring a whole bag of ripped socks. And here's your, we're going to do the prepayment. Here's your money, and here's some golden coins. We're going to come back in whatever amount of days they said we're going to come back to. We're going to pick up the order. And they walk out. She looks at it, okay. She starts, and she doesn't even know that she can even catch up with all the amount of work that she was left with, the amount of socks to sew. She figured, okay, I'll do it. I'll start immediately. And she starts sewing them up immediately. And she's sewing, and she was done. By the day that they said they're going to come and pick up, she was done. And of course, the day that they have to come, nobody showed up. Nobody came to pick up the socks. And of course, the money that they left, all the golden coins, it was enough for her to last her for the entire life. When we have emunah pshuta, and this little girl the next day went with a sandwich and an apple. When we need something from Hashem, and we reach out to Him from the place of the need, from the place of complete trust and reliance and complete subordination, HaKadosh Baruch Hu always comes through. And with that, I want to wish you Shana Tova Umetuka, Gemar Chesima Tova. May we all be written in the book of life, in the book of health, in the book of Parnasat Tova. And we should remember that when we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we should ask Hashem, do it, not because I deserve it. Do it because I'm your daughter. Just because I'm your daughter. Just because I'm your daughter, do it for me, Hashem. When our kids run to us and they ask something, a lot of times they don't deserve it. What do? We give it anyways. We give it anyways. So we give it anyways. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, if you can do it, a person from Basar Vadam, the meat and blood, you're made of physical. If you can forgive, if you can give unconditionally, how much more so I am, Hashem says. We have to make sure that we don't judge others harshly. We should, what is Teshuva? Teshuva, anything that makes us a better person by one little bit. Hashem doesn't expect big miracles. Hashem expects us to be better this year than I was last year. Do something small. Something small. If you didn't wash your hands, wash your hands. If you didn't bench, now start benching. If you didn't have enough kavana, take make sure you have more kavana during davening. If you want to learn Shmiras HaLashon, take 2 halachos a day. You learn 2 halachos of Shmiras HaLashon. Anything that will make you a better person, the best version of yourself. Become the best version of yourself. And by doing something small. You know, there was a story that I heard when the phones just came out. They were the dial phones like this. And a Jewish person was told, you hold the receiver in your one hand, in your other hand, you dial the phone. So the person says, how am I going to talk? Because the Jews always talk with hands. So, Bezrat Hashem, and the zechut of us learning and getting motivated and inspired, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu judge us favorably. May we have a zechut to be able to live out this year and say thank you to Hashem for living out the past year, for being alive today. And Bezrat Hashem, in the zechut that we did, beautiful amenim, beautiful brachot, beautiful challah. We're going to light candles. We're going to do hafrashat challah. And it's a very big, very big opportune time to daven and pray for all our needs. You know, we have to take the opportunity and run with it. There was a story brought about a big law firm. There was a big law firm that they were hiring for their position available, 400 applicants for one job, for one position. And on the application, they had a question. And they said, whoever answers that question correct will get the job. And the question was the following. You're a driver and you're driving your car. It's raining outside. You're passing by a bus stop. You're a guy, and on a bus stop, you see a gorgeous, beautiful girl that you see her, and you know she's your future Kala. The second person is the person who saved you in the past. And the third person is an elderly lady who is coughing and who is dying and who needs to get to the hospital now. But you're driving a sport car. You only have one spot next to you. Whose life you gonna save? That was the question on the application in the law firm. Who you would save?
The old lady.
The old lady. Okay, who you would save? The old lady. Okay, so the what?
All of them.
Oh, how you
But you only
gonna
have
how?
one. Let him drive the old lady. I don't understand.
Excellent.
Oh,
She knows the story. She knows the story. Okay, so the answer is like this. You get out of the car. You let the person who saved you drive your car. You ask him to pick up the elderly lady who is dying to take her to the hospital to be next to him. They go. You go to the bus stop and you stay with your Kala, wait for the bus.
Right.
So the law firm said one person out of 400 answered it correctly. 399 that answered incorrectly. They said, we need a person who thinks outside of the box. Unbelievable.
Right.
There was a story also of many years ago when Bill Gates was the richest person in the world. An interviewer came to him and said, Mr. Bill Gates, can you tell us, please, what's the secret to your wealth? And Mr. Bill Gates takes out a checkbook and he says, my pen is ready, my checkbook is ready. How much do you want? He goes, no, that's not what I asked. I'm so sorry, Mr. Bill Gates. I'm just asking, what is the secret to the wealth? And I heard the story from Rabbi Joey Haber. And Mr. Bill Gates says, okay, my checkbook is ready and my pen is ready. How much do you want me to write? Any amount you say, I'm going to write. Tell me. He goes, no, this is not what I asked. All I'm asking, what is the secret to your wealth? He puts the checkbook back inside the pocket. He starts walking away. He goes, excuse me, you didn't answer. He goes, I already did. He goes, what do you mean you did? He goes, I do not let go of any opportunity. When the opportunity comes, I grab it. So right now is our opportunity to do Teshuva before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And grab it so we have a good seal on Yom Kippur. For all of us, the entire Klal Yisrael, I want to tell you thank you for listening. And B'ezrat Hashem, with the motivation we come out from this Chala event, may we all have a better verdict, and may we all be the best versions of ourselves, and we improve, even if it's one drop. It was worth to come here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.